Welcome to the next installment of the Website Masterclass. Uh, in today's lesson, I'm going to be walking you through sitemaps. We're going to talk about what they are. We're going to get into the different types. We're going to talk about some of the benefits of sitemaps, and then we're also going to get into actually creating a sitemap. Um, and you'll see what that looks like and some of the tools you can use to do that. Let me go ahead and share my screen here, and we're going to walk through these sitemaps together so you can create these yourself. Um, as I've talked about in other sections, if you know someone that you feel like can benefit from creating their own website, please share this course with them. The objective is to give particularly introvert entrepreneurs the ability to create their own website. So if you're a coach, consultant, freelancer, you provide some sort of service that is attached to you as the individual, then the stuff that I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you exactly how to build your own website. If you know somebody that can benefit from that, share this with them. The goal is to free us from needing designers and developers charging us an arm and a leg to build something that we can do in a weekend, right? This is not me saying to never hire. This is just me saying only do it when you need to. Um, so let's jump off. Let's get this squared away. If for some reason you feel like I am talking too slow, do not skip this video. Uh, just hit fat, just speed it up, dial up the speed, so that way you still are getting the content without me taking forever to share this content with you. So first off, what is a sitemap? Well, a sitemap is a file of page that lists all the pages on a website in a hierarchical order. It is the blueprint for your website. Okay. This is, or the, before I get into that, what are the types of sitemaps? The first one is the XML sitemap. And this is what I was about to say. Your sitemap is used by search engines for crawling and indexing. When I say crawling, that's the process that a search engine will do to review the content on a page to determine what that page is about. And then indexing is just logging that information in a database that can be served up later. Okay. And this contains all the details about your website. The second type is a visual sitemap. And this is a graphical representation of your site structure. And this is used when we start to do the planning, designing, and creating the website layout, and it helps us to make sure that what we're creating makes sense for the user. Okay. You will, by the end of this, you'll know how to make both. We're going to spend more time, at least in this video, on the visual sitemap. In later videos, after we have designed and built the website, we will get back into the XML sitemap, but it will not be, we won't spend nearly as much time. I'll just show you the tool to use in order to create and then submit it to the search engines, right? There's actually a way to submit this, and we'll talk about that in future courses. Okay, so what are the benefits of having a sitemap for your website? Number one, it's going to improve indexing. Remember, indexing just means logging, saving to be served up later. This helps your search engines find and index all your pages. Number two, it enhances SEO. Remember, in the terminology, we learned what SEO was, and this is search engine optimization. It gives search engines details about the structure of your site and the information on your site. And then number three, it increases your visibility. So this makes sure that all the important pages are being noticed and ranked by the search engines. There are times where you do not want pages included in a search engine, and you can do this if you understand how these sitemaps work. Okay. All right, so common ways to create a visual sitemap. So the visual sitemap, remember, is what we use when we're designing. The reason why we're starting here is because the visual sitemap is what we're going to use when we start thinking about what am I actually going to create? What do I need? And the first step in that is identifying the pages that you need included in your website. And we'll go through that process here in a little bit where we start talking about, okay, what does it look like for me to identify the pages that I want included on my website? The next one is to add them to the diagram. Because we're creating a visual sitemap, we want to be able to see how do I plan to connect and interlink these pages. The more we can look at and say, okay, I'm going to interlink these pages with this piece of content or this information, the better off we're going to be when we go to actually create the site. We want to use lines to see how they connect. Again, this is a diagram. We want to know how will we associate these two pages to make sure they're interlinked. There's some other value when you start thinking about search engine optimization, why they're interlinked, but we're not going to really get into that in this course. Now, let's talk about some common ways to create a technical sitemap. Remember, visual sitemap is used for designing. Technical sitemap is used by the search engines to make sure they know where that your website exists. Okay. So the first and most common is to use a CMS or content management system plugin. WordPress plugins like Yoast SEO and Google XML sitemaps. These are really powerful ways to do that. The second one is an online sitemap generator, tools like XML sitemaps.com. And I'll show you this here later on. And then finally, web builders, built-in features on things like Wix and Squarespace. Now, remember, you are free to use whatever tools that you want to use. I will be showing you how to build a website using WordPress. And so we're going to get into more of this plugin stuff later on. But just know that you can have builders that already have this stuff built in. Okay. All right. So since we have gone through the basics of the sitemaps, let's go ahead and build a sitemap together. And I'm going to show you some of this content and some of the things that we talked about before. Okay. So give me 1 second. I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. And then I'm going to pull up the other pages that we want to look at together. So I said there is the XML sitemap. There was the plugin way. We need to build the visual sitemap. And we're going to spend most of our time on building the visual sitemap. All right. So, bam, and bam. Okay. Before we get into building the actual visual sitemap, I'm going to show you one of these tools you can use as far as the xmlsitemap.com, so you can see kind of what that looks like. So I'm going to share my screen here. We're going to look at this really quick. Window, bam. All right, so this is what the xmlsitemaps.com, you can create the sitemaps here. This is not the way that I usually generate my sitemaps, but you can do it this way, okay? Usually I will use something like this. This is a plugin. This is not the one that I typically use, but it is a great one to use if you are looking for something that is free, okay? That you need to be able to do some SEO stuff, and more importantly for this conversation, creating your sitemap. So again, two ways to develop a technical sitemap. Now, I am going to pull up canva.com. This is canva.com. And we are going to create a visual sitemap. But before we create the visual, before we like do the diagramming, we need to do the first step, which was determining the pages that we need. Okay, I'm going to expand this up a little bit so we can see. All right, so the first page that we need is a home page. And this is just the primary page. It's the one that most pages will lead back to. We're probably going to have an about page. We're going to have a contact. We're going to have a terms page. We're going to privacy. What else? We're going to have some sort of blog page. There are some other pages that I'm going to include. We're not going to build all these pages together, but we will include them. We'll have a speakers page. And then let me think. So anything else that I feel like is essential? I think this is a good start. Oh, we're gonna have probably gonna have some sort of case study. Okay. Now, when this may look like it's starting to get to be a lot, but I promise you, as you start looking at these and you realize, like, oh, wait a minute, um, some of these are like repeats. So when I talk about case study, we need a page that we can send folks to if we want to talk about case studies. We need a page for that. And we want to have a way that if somebody wants to do something specific, like if somebody wants to know about how I work with folks that are looking to create workshops, they're going to want to know what that actually looks like. And they're going to want to know, what have I actually done? And so this is a great way to create a case study. Okay. Or this is a great way to like show people what you've done and what you're capable of. All right. So this is kind of the foundation of our sitemap. Now, the really cool thing is sometimes um, Canva already has, look at that, some templates that you can use. Now, some of these templates are a little much, and we really don't need all of this. But let's see if, like, I wouldn't use several of these. That's a little intense. But if I were going to send this to a client, maybe I would use some of these others. I'm just going to go a basic. I'm not going to use any of these, but if you're like, hey, I don't want to start from scratch, I want to see what other people have created, just know that they're available. I am going to start from scratch. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get us a bubble here. I'm going to make this black. And this first bubble is home. Text is still black, so we want to change that. I want to change that to white. Okay, so look at that. Now we know this one. We have this one in here. So we're going to mark that off. We also said we need an about page. Good thing about this is, like, once we actually add it, we can just hit down and it will add the next one, about. Makes it really easy for us. I'm actually going to move this up. So we got our about page on there. This is our blog. We got another. Blog. Oh, speaker. Speaker. Speaker case study contact. Speaker case study contact. Case study. Contact. And then what we got? Terms and privacy. Terms, privacy. I'm going to move these. It doesn't really matter where these are, but for our purposes, I like having terms and privacy together. Terms, privacy. Now, to make this, all I'm using is Canva's whiteboard feature. And you can do this on any tool that allows you to do any sort of whiteboarding. Right, so you can see this was not meant to be a Canva design course. I just want to show you how easy it is to make these sitemaps. Okay, now if we were going to get really in depth with this, what I may start doing is start planning out some pieces that would be included. So maybe my next level, right? So I know I'm going to do a blog, but I might want to figure out what is my blog about. So this might be workshops, right? One of the things that I like to help people with is like how to create workshops. This other one might be content creation. And then I might have one about networking. Okay. So these are probably the three things that I would big bucket into, right? Like if I were doing something, these would probably be my bigger buckets. And I have some other small like buckets that I might throw into and say like, hey, you know, related to content creation, I have these other things. Maybe it's podcasting, how to create short form video, and like writing a book. Okay. Now, this is getting a little more deep into this whole thing, but I just want you to see that like the value here is that we can take this and we can really start to think about like, okay, well, what are we actually including in this website? So here I might do one about workshops, one about content, and then one about networking, right? So my case studies are related to what I'm saying I'm capable of doing. Okay. Now you'll notice that for this particular one, what I don't have is I don't have services. I don't have a services page. I may want to add that, and I may not. Uh, for just the sake of argument, I'm going to go ahead and add that here. On my personal website, I don't actually have a lot of services on my page. Um, it's really a come work with me type of deal, but we may want to include a services page. So there we go. And down here, we may find that our services are workshops. And this is like creating workshops. This is not hosting them. Content creation. And then this is networking, right? How to network. All right. We're going to take that. We're going to change this to this color. So we know that second, third level is all gray. These are all interrelated, and what we're going to do here, and we're not going to do all the connections because then this map would just look really messy and it'd be harder for you to read. But if I were actually going to create this, I know this services page needs to be connected to these blogs and these case studies, and I need to have the blogs connected to the case study. Like these pages need to be interconnected. And part of doing this site mapping allows me to determine what needs to happen. Okay, so let's scroll back up. Let's make sure we got them all. So we added blogs in here. We added the speaker page. We added the case study onto the sitemap, the contact, the terms, and the privacy page. And then we went ahead and added services towards the end. All right. So based on our list, we have all the pages that we need, or we know all the pages that we need, right? I'm going to pause for a second because this might be like, okay, I know that this is like helping me design my website, but I want you to understand like how this is going to help you later. So if this is the home page, I can start thinking about some of the content. I know I'm going to need a main headline. And we might say, I know that I'm going to need a small about summary. And this about summary is just like my story. I know that I'm going to need reviews about me, about my services, about my ability. I know that I'm going to need some trust points. And you're going to find out what all this stuff is later on. So if you're like, I don't know what a trust point is, It's okay. Don't worry about it, but just know that this is coming. I'm gonna need some type of lead magnet um, to be able to convert people. Maybe they're on my homepage, and then I need a primary call to action. Okay, so these are just some of the things that I need. I have a full-on framework of how to build a homepage. In this course, what we're really doing is we're creating our one-page website, and your one-page website is what I call the perfect homepage. Okay, it is your base of operations. If you do that first page well, you can build on it later. So really, our objective in this course is to create the perfect homepage. Okay, that is your goal. You only have to worry about building one page, but just know that all these other pages will come. Okay, that's all I got for you on this training. Please let me know if you have any questions about this stuff. We're starting to get into some of the more nitty gritty, so it's okay if you're feeling overwhelmed. Take your time, figure out the pages that you think you're going to need on your website, and do this process. I highly recommend doing it in Canva. Just taking your time. You can look at some of those. Um, you can look at some of the templates to see what makes the most sense. And my camera just faded out on me. That's okay. You can look at some of those templates to see kind of what makes the most sense for you and for your business. There it goes. Now it's refocusing. But don't overthink it. Don't overthink this. Just take action. Do your graphical sitemap, your visual sitemap, and when you're done, share it inside of the community, and I'll take a look at it and let you know, like, hey, I think there are some components missing on your visual sitemap. These are some pages that you may not have thought about based on your business or based on what you're doing, and give you some real feedback. Outside of that, that's all I got for you. Stay here, one of y'all.